I have a sequence of small goals today, which in succession should lead to what I can define as maybe, what's a good word? How would you describe like an alligator getting a good hold on somebody's ankle and then getting a spin? You know, how would you describe the force of a, I mean, what can you even think of? A monster truck hitting a ramp, doing a double front flip, and landing on a school bus. You know, somewhere between like an animalistic thrashing in tandem with, you know, the brute machine, you know, unfeeling force of a motor engine. That's kind of what I want to bring for this chest day. I got a little bit of, yeah, I mean, shit. I guess the inspiration for that logic is I was watching Alien Earth, which is like an FX Alien spin-off movie, spin-off TV show. It's like an 8-episode deal, and it was actually good. Like if you're an Alien fan, you know, and you watch Prometheus and you're like, oh, all this cyborg, you know, enhanced human shit is actually kind of cool. Alien was it Romulus? That was the newest one. Well, whatever the newest Alien movie was really bad. But Alien Earth, the show, was actually pretty good. And then I started watching Terminator for the first time, which I feel like is kind of nuts that I haven't actually ever seen it. But then I fell asleep kind of like 20 minutes in because it was already late. And then I got to go back to the part that I remember. But yeah, that was just something about it. Something about that terror. I guess what I really want to do is kind of channel some Terminator / Xenomorph energy for this chest day. Now, I'm not going to go nuts because I don't need to, not only do I not need to, but I don't want to rip my pecs off. That's actually, that's the opposite of my goal. That's what I'm actively trying to avoid with these workouts. But, you know, there is no version of a crazy awesome lift with no weight, you know, with no force and tension, with no opposition for you to work against. So to that, I think somebody put it kind of well. This was one of the guys from a Louis Simmons Vice video. You know, not everything that they were saying, but the basic gist of it was, look, you're gonna tweak, you're gonna pull, you're gonna have random things that pop up. It's just part of training, right? Don't ask for it, but it might just happen. You know, guys do everything right, and then I mean, I know a guy who is like, he's repping 300, and 185, it got him. Just that something was wrong about that day. He slept on it wrong, but that's nothing to worry about. You know, that's like not going outside because you think you're going to get struck by lightning or, you know, hit by a meteorite or whatever. You know, you can't live that way, but you can do, you know, a little bit on your end to prevent that. You know, at least a little. You know, maybe don't jaywalk if you're really worried about getting hit by a car, right? But no, play for chest. We'll see, because I mean, I've kind of been saying this a few times with most of these workouts, and I really do stand behind it. And what I'm trying to get at is the idea that I've got a few kinds of working sets that I want to do, and if I can, you know, check off those boxes in the workout, typically it ends up quite well. You know, so apart from preparation, which, you know, by that I mean sleep, hydration, just overall mood, like how are you feeling mentally? Are you ready to hit a good lift? Are you like, you know, are you thinking about other things? Are you worried about whatever? So assume all of that is good. You had enough food, you had enough water, you're ready to lift. So once a workout starts, I think the 3 main boxes I'm trying to check off, at least in terms of sets, are probably a few heavy ones where it's just as basic as you can get. Pick a weight, do it for, you know, as many times as you can, probably ending around that 10 to 12 rep range, and that's failure. That's pretty good. You know, that's a straight up working set, nothing magic, no drop sets, no nothing. You know, get on an incline bench or a chest press or whatever. Bring it. Right? That's good. That's a solid, heavy, straight set. And then you've got just a solid straight squeezing set. Same logic, but with lighter weight. And then you're getting a real good hold at the bottom. Really squeezing, a little extra burn, and back. Usually that's a little bit higher reps, but same logic. And then you can kind of add in, a couple intensifiers. So that's where I'm talking maybe a drop set, maybe a pre-exhaustion set where you might do some pec flies into Incline Smith. Or you might do, I've even gone so far as doing like static flexes pre or post set. Not recently, and by recently, honestly, I mean years. But this is a combo I used to do for my quads, was I'd get on a leg extension and I'd do all single leg totally to failure, maybe 20 reps, or maybe not exactly failure, but hard. And then just stand up and do like 5 3-second crazy flexes, so of course no stretch, but just a good, kind of squeeze and burn, if you could sort of follow. And that's kind of, so it's like you've got lighter squeezing sets, heavier, hefty brunt sets, and then you've got what I kind of describe as specialist sets. You can change them up, do a drop set, do 2 sets kind of in tandem, like a pre-exhaustion kind of deal, or maybe just try a movement you've never even done before and just change it up like that. Right? There's a lot of different ways to get a pump. I think there's no more accurate statement than that. But as long as a couple of your sets are still pretty, simple by the book, and then you throw in a couple of other extra crazy ones, and by crazy, I don't even mean that crazy, but just, things that you don't normally see all the time, then you're good, right? That's pretty much as, good of a piece of intel as I could recommend to anybody. But I think nothing else to say. Let's just go pull in and get this chest day started. All right. Let's be freaking real here. This has got to be the coolest anytime that I have ever seen. It's got freaking wooden uprights. Yeah, this is honestly my favorite kind of gym. As cool as it is when there's one and it's like, a warehouse in the middle of nowhere. When a gym is like built into the block of a city, that's just extra cool. There's one in Columbus. I don't go there I've been there like twice, and it's only because it's just kind of far. But I should go more because it's got like a second level. It's in an old bank. There's like a vault. I want to be the guy where, I'm saying you can get a good workout anywhere. You don't have to be in a fancy pants gym. But when you are in one, when you are spoiled to be, using your presence somewhere where even just the space itself is getting you excited, and then you got to make use of that. But I'm gonna, oh shit. How about we actually show the whole workout? Usually I just kind of, don't actually bring you guys along until working set number 1. But I've got a warm-up process. So let's go grab some cables. It's not the most strenuous warm-up, but it is, I'd call it essential for a good chest day for me. So nothing wild. And honestly, this really is as much as I need to get basically prepped. Because let's say we're going to start with Incline Smith or something, I'm still going to do a plate and 2 plates and 3 plates and 4 plates and like work my way up that way. But, that's not super good to actually get my triceps warm or my forearms or even my just rotator cuffs, everything that's going to come into play during the pressing beyond just your chest. And, I'm not like this for every body part, because with back, I can just warm up with a pull down. Like, the movement is a good warm up because it really hits everything. But before I do any kind of hefty pressing, honestly, right here is probably the most important. Just sitting doing this kind of rotating cuff activation. And, some people have different, I know a few guys where they really like doing this with bands. Like, they're going to die by saying bands are the best way to get your rotator cuffs activated. Usually a little bit of a one-arm face pull is enough for me. And then it just plays into a little loop of bent over cable press, push down, and then that sort of rotator cuff activator. I used to get decently crunchy shoulders pretty frequently, you know, because I'd be pressing however much weight. It would be, I mean, anyway, it'd be probably a little too much. But my rotator cuffs were not warmed up at all, and I had to pay the price. You know, if you've ever done it, it sucks. Rep. You got a freaking bum shoulder. I know some guys where they've had a bum shoulder basically as long as I've known them, like for years. You know, they don't fix it, they just keep benching, they don't. I think this light right here, if, you know, if not super light as like kind of a PT movement, moderately weighted pre-pressing is a very good preventative movement. And, you know, that's not backed up by a study, that's just backed up by, you know, my own personal experience. But I'm gonna sit here, do this loop at least a couple more times, then we can pick movement number 1. So in terms of what the warm-up turns into over here with the actual Smith, it depends on your strength, because if 2 plates is your top set, then you probably wouldn't jump up 1 plate, 2 plates, right? I think somewhere around the 4 times divisible mark is good. So it's like, if you're gonna hit a 4-plate incline Smith, start with 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, get ready. I actually even did 3 and a 25 just to make sure I wasn't going too heavy too quick. But if you're only doing 2, well then maybe start with a 25, or, I mean, usually starting with a plate is fine, but go up incrementally like that. My approach here with this chest day is getting obviously warm to the point that I'm comfortable with this weight and I'm not gonna hurt myself, and starting with a wild ass set right in the beginning. And part of that logic isn't even pure, like, you know, calculated, what's the best move. I'm feeling amped, so I want to make use of that energy. So give me a second to get in the, this is freaking, I don't want to say angry, but maybe a near violent headspace, and then go crazy here. Let's make that a drop set. Oh, the floor is way too heavy. Okay, one more. Ooh, just with 3 plates this time. Yeah, there was no, I might have got 1 more with 4 plates. That's too low. My limit is 8. If I can't get 8 reps, I overestimated my strength. But then just make it a drop set. Simple ass fix. All right, so before the next set, just a little bit of a topic. So I'm kind of traveling around, like road trip style. So I go up to an Anytime last night, there's a dude there. And we're chatting, and you know, he brings up something very, very near and dear to my heart. The idea that, you know, we're talking like it's not super busy at that gym. You know, there's not a huge, I mean, there's 2 people in here. You know, nothing's going on. And the idea that you can get a little bit demotivated, a little bit just kind of, you know, maybe running your engines at a lower temp because the gyms that you're in aren't as flashy and no one's watching. It's just you. Look, I'm actually not a good example of someone to give this take because obviously a lot of people get to watch my workouts. But don't forget, as many workouts as I've recorded, there were over, well, not over double, but it's getting close. It's probably 40% recorded, but there is 60% where it was just me. And I don't know how many percentage of those were in like this gym that was in like a town a little bit over from my college that was 24-hour, and I had a weird sleep schedule, so I'd go there at like midnight at the earliest, and then it was basically just me, you know. So it's something where if you can't, or if you don't have a bright light shining around you for motivation, like if I was in the gym with 50 dudes and they were all total ballers killing it, I probably don't need that much internal hype, because I get to have it all around me. But if you can't see it, that means it's hidden. That means it's within. So you've got to turn that light on, because I mean, those are the lifts that count, not the fun ones. Like when I get to work out with a Larry Wheels or whoever, like that's fun. But don't forget, that workout didn't get me to whatever, you know, level of size that I'm at now. It's all the workouts before. So you kind of have to, I mean, that's really a situation that embodies the idea of delayed gratification, right? Make it so that your goal isn't so abstract as like a large scheming thing. Just bring it down to one bite size, day by day. I want to go to the gym and kill it today. Did I do that? Yes. Then you're good, right? Keep it as simple as that. But let's get one more minimum. Would you do one more, or would you move on? Let me think for a second. Go a little wider grip this time. Okay. All right. So that's one box checked off. The heavy straight set. So let's move on and do something else. Actually, I gotta go even a little lighter. I was gonna do 140, but let's make it 120 instead. So even though this is another press, it's still gonna be squeeze emphasized, because instead of just like, you know, heavy as possible, whatever. I mean, even the nature of this press is way different than on the Smith, because this is how I like to think about it. If you're pressing with a barbell or a Smith or a chest press that doesn't converge, then you don't really get a ton of squeeze at the top, because you're almost pushing your hands out a little, you know what I'm saying? Whereas with a converging press like this cable, or maybe some, you know, machines here, you actually come in. So in, you know, with that press, tons of tension, but it's all downward, if you feel me, right? Like if I had like imagine there's an arrow that pointed out the force my hand was feeling. It's only straight down, you know? Whereas with this, you don't even need an arrow. The cables indicate where the force is going. So sure, you know, they're coming down like a press, pushing, but they're also, you know, pulling my hands apart. So I get not only a pressing action, but also a little bit of a fly. Like, I mean, it really is as if you took a pec deck and a press and combined them, because you get this a little and this a bit, right in the middle. So as a best of both worlds, this is almost always in the, or at least something like this, a converging press is always a chest day staple. Two. Okay. One more of those. Two. Okay. All right. Okay. Now what? Now what is next? All right. Now this pec deck. Talk about ergonomic. So a little declined, which typically is a little bit of a turnoff for me, chest-wise, because I want my upper chest to be able to pop out and take over. Your lower chest gets worked all the time. It's probably the most dominant part of your chest in day-to-day life than anything. You're barely ever pushing anything up. You push down to the ground to stand up. You know, you kind of pull stuff over. Every time if you throw something, that's your lower pec coming into play in this downward action. But just the feeling here and the fact that this is kind of a aspect of flies that either makes me think they're good or bad, is it pulling my shoulders forward into a hunch, or does it pull my shoulders back and then make it a much more natural chest flexing movement? So I'm thinking it's the latter, just off of the feeler reps. So let's just get a good song going and get real. Come on. I keep forgetting to download my Spotify likes. That's okay. I don't want to finish with that. That was good, but that wasn't the last set of the lift good. Let's go back and do cable flies, and that'll be the real ender for today. Yeah, one more here. Lighter than the press, but not super light, so let's do 80. Actually, no, 90 is good. Okay. Okay. All right. Now that's enough. Let's go see how we're looking. That was a good one. All right. Yeah, there we go. So let's do the math. Let's do an accounting on that workout. What did we do? 3 sets of Incline Smith, 1 with a badass drop set as the starter, which was probably a little too heavy. I could have got away with 3 plates and a 25 instead. But either way, still an awesome set. Nothing got hurt, so we're good there, that's for sure. So 3 sets of those, 2 sets of those presses. So now we're at 5. 1 set of that pec deck machine over there, and then a finisher with the cables. That's 7 sets. And that's kind of what I was talking about. The first set ended being a little bit of a specialty, like I was brought up earlier. So still a heavy straight set, but there was a drop set included, a little extra intensifier. And then squeezing sets with the cables, decently squeezing sets of that pec deck. Even though I didn't love it, it was still a good set, which those 2 things can be true at once. And then just a good pumpish set at the end of those flies. I mean, holy shit. Yeah, shocker. Sam says he's pumped. Oh my goodness. All right, let's see how we're really looking now. There we go. I've referenced this before. If you've ever watched Hunter x Hunter, remember when Gon came back from his month of no nen from that one guy's contract, and he's up against Moral. That's all. That's just fun for me. But let's ooh, man. I mean, even no posing, just a little hands on hips. Yeah, this is good. I don't know if I felt my chest pumped this full for kind of a while. Like, I know it's been a while since I was bulking, but this still feels extra just nuts. And I'm getting lean enough that I can start to see some fancy pants grain, right? Like way up here in the top, these little fibers. What I really want to see is all sorts of this, where it's like every bit of my chest is kind of popping out and everything. But for only day 42 of this diet, now we're on track. So it should be a pretty substantial change by the next 42 days. So that's going to put it at what? Day 84. And then day 120. You know, and it's going to go all the way until March. And then I'm still going to try to stay kind of lean and really like reverse diet out. I don't want to get too soft next year. But oh my god, let's even just do a vein check. This is good. Okay, let me see what this lighting looks like over here. Now I'm just a freaking pose addict. All right, let's make sure we're nice and in focus. Yeah, there we go. This spot's even crazier. I tell you, I mean, I was about to say if I could stay pumped forever, I would, but then that would actually take away its value. You know, like when we talk about, oh, if you could instantly become your peak physique just from like wishing upon a magic shaker, would you do it? And I want to say no. Honestly, I think we all probably would if that were the case. but magic's not real. So we've got no choice but to actually work for it. And that's what makes it valuable, you know? But let's just run through all the same poses, but this lighting is just so much crazier. Yeah, here we go. Oh my goodness. All right, now I'm getting myself out of breath just by posing post-workout. But that was sweet. I can leave a winner today. So let's get in the car. There we go. Yeah, that was good. That was, yeah, I'd say that was a good workout. Nothing too insane, but still brought it, which is kind of, well, let's think, you know. Obviously, you want, I mean, in a perfect world, every set would give me, or I would have, like, the maximum mental focus, acuity, you know, however, whatever combination of brain waves and, like, gamma whatever is going on in your neurons that would add up to an insane set. I want every set to be like that. And that's something I've kind of had to ponder about a little bit, because when you're a complete beginner, taking a set to failure is a challenge, right? You're not going to take a set to failure without really putting serious effort into it. It won't just happen, you know. Just like somebody's not going to eat 250 grams of protein in one day just because. Like it's a very conscious effort of something to do. But the more that you do it, the easier it gets. And I feel like at this point, I've got a decent skill, you know, in terms of being able to actually take these sets to at least what I think is close to total failure, you know, usually with the heavier ones. When it comes to the lighter squeezing sets, failure's a little bit more ambiguous because it's like where you're really aiming for. So those sets are more so like to satisfaction. Like, is your chest burning enough? With a set of Incline, you know, Smith or whatever, well, that's pretty cut and dry. Can you do another one? No. Do you mean it? Like, are you not lying to yourself? No, I'm not. Well, then you're good, you know. But it's, you know, because you never want to get complacent with your effort. That's, if I could say anything, that's probably the one thing I'm trying to think about the most, you know. Just because you've lifted for 5 years or 10 years or X years, like, I never want to think that I've got it in the bag 100%. You know, I kind of want to always be under the impression that, you know, I've got room to learn, I've got room to improve my intensity, and that's always going to be the case. Like, I always want to bring more. And that's kind of what adds to the challenge of it, because it's like, well, you know, if somebody's been working out for long enough, they can kind of catch themselves starting to think like, oh, you know, I know what I'm doing. I don't have to bring it that hard. Like, that's not a conscious thought they think, but it's just, it kind of happens, you know. You do something for long enough, repetitively, it can become a little routine, you know. And I don't want these workouts to become routine for me. I do not want, you know, coming in and getting myself amped for a set of anything to just feel like nothing, you know. I want it to have a certain just emphasis. I want it to draw something out of me that doesn't come out normally in just regular day-to-day activities. Because I'm not going to the gym as a hobby. I mean, I guess you could kind of say I am, but I want to go because I want to, like, challenge myself with how hard I can go. It's like it's almost as though every time I go, I'm proving like how bad I want it, how bad I'm willing to push it, and I like that about it, you know. And that's not something I ever want to lose, because that's the fun part. If it was easy, then it wouldn't be fun. I mean, maybe it'd still be fun, but it would definitely be different. You know, the fact that it's hard is what gives it its value. So I guess all I'm really trying to say is I just don't want to get to a point where, you know, I start to slack, right? I don't want to get to the point where I'm like, let's just go do a scrappy workout. You know, one shit workout isn't going to change anything. I'm not really feeling it today. You know, do whatever. Like, I don't want to be like that. And I see people do sets with that level of, you know, ampness and intensity, and it sucks. It's not cool. It doesn't get me excited to train by watching it. And I know that it's not actually effective. Like, you did everything right. You came to the gym, you got a pre-workout, you're walking around with lifting straps, the guy's got a belt on in his gym bag. Like, he's doing everything right. But the most important part, like, actually just, you know, you can show up to class, but that doesn't mean you're present. You know, you've got to actually be, you know, thinking about what you're doing, not just, you know, I made it to the gym today. Like, obviously that's a challenge at a point in everybody's gym journey, but that shouldn't be a challenge forever. You know, you've got to raise the bar higher than that. If you want more progress than the people where, you know, just going to the gym in the first place is the tricky part, right? And that's, you know, I'm not trying to put that down. Of course, to go from 0 gym to even 3 days a week is massive. You just put yourself in the 80th percentile compared to the 10th from going 0 times to even just 3 times a week. Like, that's huge. But, you know, as much as we can say, holy crap, man, congrats, you got your learner's permit, you still got to get your license, right? You still got to keep leveling it up. There is no end. So it's kind of it's like you're climbing a mountain that's gradually getting steeper. Sure, you know, you could look at that and say it's getting harder, but you're going to be a better climber over time as well. You're going to match the difficulty with your aptitude and your skill and your effort. So, you know, even though you might be working as hard as the guy who's been lifting for 5 years and you're just a beginner, or vice versa, whatever, it doesn't mean it's never in the bag, right? The game's never over, right? So you got to just learn to enjoy playing rather than, you know, waiting for, I guess, the final buzzer, right? But I think I got nothing else to say there. So I've got back tomorrow, and if back ends up being anything like today with chest, then I am in for a freaking treat. So I'll just see you then.